Hey everybody, it's Kara Wong and I'm here today with Helen MacDougall, our leading lady, and we are interviewing for the Magical Unicorn Project. So Helen, tell me what your childhood was like growing up.
There was a certain amount of turmoil and we moved a lot. My parents divorced when I was 5. We moved from Ontario to Nova Scotia. My family split because my 2 older brothers went with my father back and forth with us and with my mother. We went with my mother to Nova Scotia. My brother that's 2 years older, and there was a lot of fighting between my parents, and I think somehow the kids got slipped through the cracks. They kind of forgot about us and they were pretty focused on their anger toward each other. And so as a result, I became an adult when I was about 5 years old. Wow. Crazy things, like I would make my own doctor's appointments when I was 12, and I would go on the bus and go myself, and I got applied for my own social insurance number and passport when I was 12. I've worked since I was 13. Since I was 13, I have never not worked. Wow. I've held a job steadily since I was 13. Right through high school, I worked 2 jobs in high school, always made honors, always overachieved. Probably that I needed attention, and and positive attention is better than negative attention, and it felt better to have positive attention, but I overachieved in school. And
so you got the positive attention from your teachers?
From my teachers, yeah. Validation from my teachers, yeah. And I was always the loudest in just about every situation. Of my friends, and I think every one of them would say that I was the most noticeable in that way, because I was always loud and quick comebacks, and but I became an adult at a very young age. I grew up very fast, and I took care of everybody. I took care of my older brothers, who are, one of them is 9 years older than me, another one's 7 years older and 2 years older. And I think every one of them would say today that I'm maybe a bit more of a mother than a sister, but it's just who I became. So I started university right out of high school, and I got sick. So I had to leave university because I was too sick to finish the year. So after I left university, I got kind of complacent not being in university. I got a full-time job and I was making some money, and then I became pregnant with my first child. Then I kind of got, I don't want to say trapped, but trapped into working this job because I had, I couldn't leave it because I had a child. And then I got pregnant with the second child, and I worked in retail, and I worked with women, some of them were fantastic, but some of them were not. And some of them didn't want to see other women succeed, and I don't think they cheered each other on. And as I'm not comfortable in that culture, it's not who I am. I'm a person that polishes other women's crowns. So I had enough of the cattiness, and I just one day decided to go back to university, because one of them actually said to me, I got in a little bit of an argument with one of them, and she said to me, well, at least I'm educated. So the fact that I didn't finish university came back to me, and I never forgot it. It kind of ate me inside. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. So I went back to university. My son was 6 weeks old. My daughter was 2.
Oh my God.
Yep. That's as hard as it sounds. And 5 was full-time. I took 7 courses. I took 5 at the university. I took 2 by distance. I worked 3 jobs because, again, I'm a mother of 2 babies. And I made the dean's list. I did excellent in school. But my husband worked 3 jobs, and he was a fantastic help and so much support. So I went back to university. I got a job at Avco, which tells you that I'm a dinosaur, because Avco has been gone for, I think, 20 years. So I got a job at Avco, and I loved finance, and I ran into somebody else that worked as a broker, and I said to him, if anything ever comes up, I want it. And I just always assumed that I want that job and I'm going to get it. So you know what I did? I saw it appealed to me, and I thought, yeah, I think I'll do that now. So I just did it. And I think a lot of things, I don't know if it's overly confident or I'm delusional, but I just assumed I want to do this. I'm going to do this. I dive feet first into things. So I did, and I love it, and I think years later, here I am.
Helen, how do you deal with women who aren't very supportive of other women?
I basically ignore them. Honestly, I ignore them. I don't care. I don't play into the cattiness, and I just go about my business, and I'm aware of other women that dislike me in my community. And because they don't know who I am, and they assume if I strut in somewhere and I might appear confident, and I'm more friendly than confident. I'll talk to everybody, and I'm loud, and I'm not going to say I'm obnoxious, but I can't find a better word escapes me. But I'm always loud, and I'm always, I'm coming. You hear me before you see me. So I know there's whisperings, and those women that are, who does she think she is? You know what? You don't know who I am. You don't know. I would, if something, if you fell and tripped in the parking lot and hurt yourself, I'd be the first one there to help you. But you don't know that, and you're missing out because I'm kind and I'm fun. So
you don't let it get you down?
No, I don't care. I don't care. You know what? I don't know if it's something that maybe happens in your 40s, but it's truly liberating that I really don't care. I care if it's somebody that I love, respect. I really care what they think. I'm a people pleaser, and with people I love and respect and care about. And as far as my livelihood goes, I really care about my reputation, because your reputation, I think, is your greatest currency. But I don't think, I'm pretty self-aware, and I don't think I carry myself in a way that's off-putting. So if somebody decides they don't like me because they don't know me, I really don't care.
How do you overcome fear?
I dive right in. I just assume I'm going to be able to do it. And that's from the silliest things, like buying an overly complicated piece of furniture from IKEA. That, I just assume I'm going to be able to do it. And, right down to this job, I had no experience as a broker. I did lending. I worked for Avco. It's a different beast, but I knew that I will learn, and that I pay attention, and that I do my homework, and I just assume I'll be able to do it. So, and sometimes sometimes you truly are afraid, and I don't bust through everything confident like that Kool-Aid guy that busts through walls. I don't do that, but sometimes I'm genuinely fearful of something, but I'll do it because I think you have to make yourself uncomfortable, and I think real growth doesn't come unless you make yourself uncomfortable a lot of times. And you have to suck it up, and I think for the most part, when you're fearful of something, the thought of it is worse than the act of it.
Totally agree.
Once you get there, and because everybody has anxiety. There's people that have social anxiety, and it comes from insecurities, but sometimes you have to suck it up and just do it. And then once you do, you realize that wasn't so bad, and then next time you're fearful, you'll remember, I did that, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and you just keep going.
How do you handle failures in your life, or how have you overcome a setback you've had?
I've had lots of failure in my life, and if you do not learn from failure, it's just a failure. You have to take a lesson from it, and you have to think, and I tell my kids this all the time, what would I do differently? How would I change that? I'm an idiot, I shouldn't have done that, but you have to own it, you have to acknowledge it, because I think until you accept responsibility for something, once you accept responsibility for something and you acknowledge it, you have to change it. But if you ignore it and you don't own it, you're never going to change it. You're just going to fail again. So you have to kind of give yourself a day to wallow in self-pity, then get up, figure out what you did wrong and how you can change things, and it becomes a lesson, and get on with it, and don't feel sorry for yourself, and don't beat yourself up too much about it.
Grow through it.
Grow through it. Learn from it.
Do you think that the Old Boys Club exists, and how do you deal with it?
The Old Boys Club absolutely exists. I'm not a member, obviously, I don't know that I've run into it on more than one occasion, and when I have, I over-prepare, and I would do more homework to make sure that if something comes up, I know the answer, even if it's particularly for me specifically. It was a couple of lawyers that I dealt with, and it was a pretty complicated transaction that we were in the middle of, but I made it a point to read up on every complication of the process. Things that were not part of my job, they were their job, but I made sure to know part of their job so that if they asked me, they would not be able to dismiss me, because I felt dismissed and underestimated. So that's what I had to do with dealing with the boys club. And at the end of the day, I think he told me in so many words, without allowing me to congratulate myself too much, that he was impressed by the way that I handled it. But I thought, dude, because I knew your job, and I shouldn't have to do that. Yeah. And I do believe that if I was male, I wouldn't have had to do that, but I had to overcompensate.
What's the biggest emotional glass ceiling you've had to overcome in your life?
So my emotional glass ceiling, I am going to say, undoubtedly is my weight. And nobody wants to talk about that. Particularly women don't want to talk about that.
Oprah talks about it.
But Oprah talks about it, and she's my queen. Yeah. It's always been my biggest weakness. It's my biggest insecurity. It's held me back. It's held me back at times socially, because I feel like I'm not good enough, and I've compensated for that. I get eyelash extensions. I spend, I hope my husband never sees this, an obscene amount of money at Sephora on skincare, because I feel like if I have all that not under control, but if I feel confident, everything from the neck up, then I'm good. And I spend money on clothes that I feel confident in, but I control every other aspect of my appearance kind of obsessively. My weight I've struggled with. I've tried to lose weight. I actually do exercise, and it's hard, and I have friends that are overweight, and they kind of do the same thing. They always look very polished, and when I see them, I see their inside and I see their outside, and they look gorgeous to me. Their hair is perfect. I notice their makeup. I notice what they're wearing. They look gorgeous to me, and they'll say, oh, I gained 10 pounds. I don't see it, and more importantly, I don't care. I care because I think they radiate so much positivity and love and light, and physically, to me, they absolutely look beautiful. But I have friends that will say that to me, and I don't believe. I thank them, but I don't accept it. I don't accept any kind of compliment well, but I will say the same thing to them. So I think we have to learn to be kinder to ourselves, and when somebody says that to me, I have to say, hey, yeah, maybe that's true, because I do that with others. But it's held me back. It's held me back from, going out to look for referrals, because I feel like, oh, okay, well, if I lose another 10 pounds or 15 pounds, I'll feel better, I'll be more confident, and that's just crap. I think, and I know that most other women have their own insecurities, whether it's their weight, whether it's their nose, whether it's their height, whatever. Nobody cares, and nobody in my family, nobody else was overweight, but my father always brought it up, and he would always say that, and my mother has on several occasions, saying that it was my health they were worried about. My health is fine. I actually exercise. My health is good. I'm just thick. But that scars me, and I feel like, and honestly, that's where a lot of it comes from. It comes from my parents. So all women have an insecurity. All girls have insecurities. The ones that strut around like they're invincible and like they own the place, I guarantee they have insecurities. And I tell my daughters all the time, never compare your insides to someone else's outsides.
Yes.
You know, to my previous point, maybe I appear that way.
Interesting.
Right? That's kind of an aha moment. But maybe I appear that way to other women, but I'm not that way.
Yeah.
But so.
And don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, well, I always tell my girls, don't what you're feeling and all your insecurities and all the things that you feel and you think that other people don't feel that way. That's your insides. They're trying to project something entirely different. I promise you, if you talk to them, they'd say, yeah, me too. And I think some of these joyless women that pick on other women and who does she think she is? Look at her. They don't like themselves. They don't know themselves. They have maybe a very weak sense of self. I do. I have a strong sense of self. I like myself because I know that I do the best for people, that I would help anybody, and that I'm caring.
You're a loving person.
Yeah, I'm a loving person by nature.
Yeah.
And I try to surround myself with the same kind of people.
Absolutely.
And I don't have time for, and I've had other women that have asked me, oh, let's hang out or let's go here for a glass of wine, but I see the way they tear down other women, and I thought, I don't want to be a party to that, and the minute that I leave, you're going to do that to me, and that's just not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about foolish, silly things, meaningful things, mainly foolish, silly things. I don't have time for them, and they're just not. I think they're energy suckers. I think they're joy suckers. I think they're mean girls. And you can be a mean girl at 50 years old.
Sure. Yeah, for sure.
But and I think you have to be cognizant of how you carry yourself because your daughters are watching. And I think for the most part, what's in the cat's in the kitten. I think girls learn how to navigate the world as a woman from their mother.
Absolutely.
And so they have to see their mother doing good for others, being kind, being there emotionally for others, and saying kind things and building people up and applauding when they succeed. And I think if they see that, they'll do that. They'll mimic that behavior. But if they see their mother flipping through social media, oh, look, she's taking another vacation. Must be nice to be taking all these. Does she ever work? What does she... Whatever. You know what? Flip through and say, oh, that's awesome. Look at them. What a beautiful place. Be positive.
What advice can you offer women on how to progress in their career?
I think the number one thing is to be honest, be authentic, be yourself, because it's way harder to be somebody else. Yes. If it comes naturally to be yourself, be yourself. Take responsibility for your actions. Never apologize for who you are. Apologize for what you did if you need to. Never apologize for who you are. And the boys club is there. You got to know it's there. And if you don't, you're absolutely delusional. Navigate it with confidence and grace, and back to the wall, fist in the air, smile in your face.
How do you balance being a mother and a working professional?
I've struggled with prioritizing, triaging, because, you know, in the big scheme of things, hands down, your children are the most important thing in your life. They're the first thing I think of when I open my eyes. They're the last things I think of when I close my eyes at night. However, sometimes your job has to come first. And sometimes, and I'm sure that a lot of people would disagree with me, but sometimes putting your job first is putting them first, because you have to provide for them. And I think as a mother, I beat myself up over that, because when the phone rings, I have to answer it. And sometimes they'll be in the middle of telling me something that happened at school and they're upset, or I got to put you on pause and take this call. I have to take this call. But if if they were, you know, at the hospital in the emergency, I won't take the call, but you kind of have to weigh everything, and they have to understand. There has to be some kind of an agreement between you and them that here's my job. It's not 9 to 5, Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
It's evenings, weekends, whatever, and I get paid by the job and not by the hour. So when one comes, I have to take it, and they just have to know that I still love you. It doesn't diminish your importance or presence in my life, but I have to do my job.
Yeah, and you're okay with that, and they learn that there's financial benefit.
They learn, well, they learn the hustle. They have to see and learn the hustle, and you know what, I think as a result of that, I have my 20-year-old works 2 jobs, and my 22-year-old works 2 jobs, and they go to university full time because they've always seen me. And their father too. We own rental properties. They've always seen us work hard and hustle, and we put our social life and our own relaxation on the back burner all the time. I've been lucky enough that my job is flexible. I've really missed nothing. I forward my office calls to my cell and I'll go, but there's been volleyball games, gold medal games, where I'd had to step outside and take a call.
Right.
And they're watching. They're always watching to make sure you're watching them, because for them, mom standing there is the greatest validation. And I'm the loudest cheer. I like to give instructions from the sidelines, like I know what I'm doing, like that's my job. But I miss nothing. I miss nothing, and I sacrifice my own personal time to be there for them in every way I can be. And again, that's another way I compensate for having to take a call when they're trying to tell me something exciting or important, and I have to step away, or I'm reading an email. So I'm there. Like sometimes I'll give them 150%, and sometimes I'll give them 50%. And it's kind of like, you know, in a marriage, people say that a marriage should be 50-50, but I think if you're always thinking it's going to be 50-50, you're not going to have a very long marriage, because you're stopping to keep track of it. Sometimes it's 75-25, sometimes it's 95-5. It shifts, just like being a mother. Sometimes I can be there 150%, sometimes I'm 25%, because I have something that I have to attend to that directly affects them.
Yeah.
But they need to see that, and they need to learn how to triage things in their life.
Yeah. What is your spirit animal?
So I asked my girls what my spirit animal would be, and I expected, you know, everyone in my house is a comedian, and they said, "You're a unicorn. I do impossible things," and people think unicorns don't exist, but and people think that there's things that you can't possibly get all this done or handle all this, and I do. So I say, and I tell my clients, "How did you get that done?" And I joke and I tell them I'm a magical unicorn. But I curse a lot, and sometimes I add another word in there. But
you're magical as
magical AF.
Thank you, Mortgage Centric Canada, for your generous sponsorship in making this video possible. And thank you, Helen MacDougall.